Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And just picking up on my last line, again, in the earlier days of the civil rights movement, when the people spoke up and demanded justice, President Johnson used federal forces to protect Black Americans. Today, Donald Trump, in a move that surprises no one, is using federal forces to attack Black Americans. Dean Nagin, has any other president of the United States responded to peaceful protesters in this way?
Well, I would say not to my knowledge. It is important to appreciate that President Kennedy and President Johnson and others understood the power of peaceful protest in our society. And as you mentioned, the protests at Birmingham and the protests at Selma gave rise to the legislation that has made us substantially freer in this country today on in terms of race.
Yes. How does this response compare to the anti lockdown demonstrations we have seen in dozens of states across the nation to protest life saving protective measures against the coronavirus? What
Right.
comparisons would you draw?
Sure. I would say that in the context of the lockdown protests, I've noticed that police officers have been incredibly restrained. I have not noticed any violence against protesters, batons or bullets or tear gas. By contrast, in the context of the protest following the death of George Floyd, we have seen a lot of that. And so there has been a remarkable difference in terms of the response.
Thank you, Dean. And I would just say that, the Fannie Lou Hamers and the Diane Nagins and the John Lewises and the Dr. Kings, um, we elevate them now as luminaries of the movement, but I'm quite certain that they were vilified and falsely and hurtedly mischaracterized then in the same way that the protesters and demonstrators on the front lines of this movement are being today. Those who do not learn from their history are condemned to repeat it. Thank you, and I yield back.